Let's talk about power, but not the kind you see on the surface. We're going deep into the hidden code, the invisible architecture that decides who leads, who follows, and frankly, why so many leaders get it wrong. They're using the wrong operating system for the job.
This quote, it really gets to the heart of it, doesn't it? It frames the fundamental choice every single leader has to make, whether they realize it or not. One of these paths is built on sand, the other on solid rock. And figuring out the difference is everything.
So here's the core paradox we need to unravel. The power that seems most direct, being aggressive, raising your voice, interrupting people, it's also the most fragile. It feels like a win in the moment, but it's a short-term play that almost guarantees a long-term strategic loss. We're about to show you exactly why.
All right, here's how we're going to break this all down. We'll start with that power paradox, then we'll uncover the hidden costs of trying to control everything. We'll lay out the two distinct paths to status, dive right into the psychology of why one works and one doesn't, give you a strategic playbook, and wrap up with what I call the stability mandate.
Okay, first up, the fundamental strategic mistake. We're talking about the hidden cost of aggression. This is a deep psychological mechanism where the more you chase immediate control, the more you absolutely destroy your foundation for any kind of lasting power.
And here is the crucial point. Every single time a leader uses intimidation, they are basically spending their future loyalty to buy a few seconds of compliance right now. It feels like a victory, but it's just an illusion. They are betting everything on a strategy that has a built-in self-destruct button.
And look, this isn't just some abstract academic problem. In the real world, when you confuse these two types of power, you create this tangible, crippling thing called organizational drag. It slows everything down.
So when a leader uses those classic dominance cues, aggression, constant interruptions, they think they're projecting strength, but that's not what the group receives. What the group actually sees is a signal of instability, and the response isn't respect, it's self-protection. That leads to relational aggression, subtle sabotage. It leads to suppressed information, because people learn pretty fast that it is not safe to speak the truth. And maybe worst of all, it forces every person on the team to waste a huge amount of mental energy just navigating the leader's ego instead of actually solving problems.
So the conclusion here is pretty much unavoidable. A strategy that's built on fear is actively destroying the very resources it's supposed to be leading. It's like a fire that has to consume its own fuel to keep burning. It's just unsustainable.
So this brings us to the core framework. It really is a choice between two completely different operating systems for achieving status. You've got threat, which is dominance, versus competence, which is prestige.
First, let's be clear about dominance. Its currency is fear. This kind of status is never given freely. It is taken. The group doesn't follow because they believe in you. They comply because they're afraid of what will happen if they don't.
And this is where the trap closes. Dominance runs on this really expensive, self-defeating feedback loop. It starts with a threat, which gets you some temporary compliance. But because that compliance isn't voluntary, you have to constantly police everyone to maintain it, which is exhausting. And every time you go through this loop, you generate this toxic byproduct, resentment. And that resentment just quietly builds and builds until it finds the perfect moment to come out as sabotage.
But then there's the other way, prestige. Now this form of status is earned, not taken. It is freely given by the group to people who actually show they have valuable skills, useful knowledge, and importantly, are willing to share them. Its foundation isn't fear at all, it's respect. Here, the leader is still a gatekeeper, but the resource they control is knowledge, not threats.
Now look at the prestige loop. It's self-sustaining. It's incredibly efficient. It starts with real expertise, which provides a real benefit to the group. In return, the group offers genuine commitment. And over time, that commitment hardens into real loyalty. A leader here doesn't have to police the group, because the group's own self-interest is now perfectly aligned with the leader's success. They want you to succeed.
Think about the energy difference. A dominance-based leader spends all their energy just trying to hold on to their position. A prestige-based leader actually gains energy from the group. One system is a constant fight against its own people. The other is a powerful alliance with them. And that is the moment when real control actually shifts. I mean, the contrast, when you put it side by side like this, is just stark. The source of power, coercion versus expertise. The group's response, forced compliance versus willing commitment. The psychological impact, fear and resentment versus trust and loyalty. The cost to maintain it, incredibly high versus naturally low. And the final outcome, well, it says it all. Dominance gets you fragile control. while prestige builds resilient, lasting influence. So now we get to the why. Why is prestige so much more effective? Well, the answer is deep inside our own brains. It's in the fundamental difference between how we react to a threat versus how we react to an expert that we actually value.
And let's be really precise about this. When a leader uses dominance tactics, they're not just making people feel a bit uncomfortable. They are chemically and structurally hijacking the brain's threat detection system. They are triggering our most primal, ancient survival instincts.
This isn't just theory, it's biology. Dominance activates something called the Behavioral Inhibition System, or the BIS. You can just think of it as a neurological handbrake. It slams the brakes on creative problem solving and any kind of intelligent risk-taking. So, in short, when you lead with dominance, you are literally making your team less intelligent.
Prestige, on the other hand, does the complete opposite. It's psychologically superior because it taps into our deep human need for safety and certainty. It doesn't trigger the handbrake, it frees up the entire engine.
You see, a prestigious leader provides certainty. Their expertise triggers a positive authority bias. We are wired to trust a credible expert. This creates what's called a halo effect, and it frees up the group's mental resources, their cognitive load, so they can focus on collaboration and innovation instead of just protecting themselves.
Okay, so we get the theory, we understand the psychology, now let's make this actionable. How do you actually operate in this landscape? How do you counter one strategy and deliberately build the other?
All right, first up, the defensive move. Picture this. You're in a meeting and someone is using all the dominance tactics. They're interrupting, raising their voice, using intimidation to try and control the room. How do you respond without getting sucked into their game?
Here's the key. You don't meet aggression with more aggression. That's their game. You change the entire terrain of the conflict. First, you create a time barrier. Something like, that's an interesting point. Let's pause on that and review the data. See what that does? It deflates the emotion. Second, you shift the focus to objective facts. You are changing the currency of the conversation from intimidation to competence. You are forcing them to fight on prestige terrain, a battle they are almost certainly unprepared for.
Okay, so that's defense. Now let's talk offense. This is all about proactively building your own power base, but on that resilient foundation of prestige. And this requires conscious, deliberate action. You build prestige through what I call strategic generosity, sharing your knowledge in a way that benefits the entire group. You focus on solving problems, not just winning arguments. And every single action you take has to be calibrated to make sure your influence is based on the group's gain, not their fear. That is how you create that powerful loyalty loop.
So, this brings us all the way to the core principle, the one big idea that emerges from this entire analysis. This is really the key to having clarity in any power dynamic you find yourself in. It's this: volatility is vulnerability. Any power structure that's built on dominance is, by its very nature, volatile. It's defined by emotional swings, by threat, by fear. And that volatility, that is its greatest weakness. An unstable system is a vulnerable system, just waiting for a crisis to come along and expose how fragile it truly is.
Therefore, the most valuable, the most powerful resource you can provide anyone is stability. A system built on prestige is predictable. It's safe. And in a chaotic world, the leader who provides that stability commands the ultimate loyalty. It is the absolute bedrock of all resilient influence.
And so, we come right back to where we started. A throne that's built on fear is a cold, lonely, and incredibly precarious place to sit. But a platform built on influence, earned through real competence and generosity, that's a foundation that's supported by the willing commitment of others. And that is the only kind of power worth having.